Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Tonight's story doesn't start with a name. It starts with a ring. A very silent, very telling ring, left behind on purpose. Let's get into it. She said the weekend would be healing. She said she needed space. What she didn't say was everything. I wasn't supposed to know. That was the unspoken agreement. I was supposed to be the kind of husband who trusts without question, who waters the plants, feeds the dog, and waits patiently while she reconnects with her inner self during a girl's trip 2 states away. But that ring, that little band of metal caught the sunlight on our kitchen counter like it wanted to be noticed, like it had something to confess on her behalf. She didn't leave it in a drawer. She didn't tuck it safely in her travel case. She left it next to the coffee maker, where she knew I'd see it the moment I woke up. It wasn't an accident. The thing is, Carla had always made a show of that ring. She'd twist it on her finger when she was nervous. She'd flash it when declining attention from strangers. At least she used to. So when she left without it, without even a word of explanation, I knew. This wasn't about misplacing jewelry. This was a signal. A very deliberate one. I didn't confront her. I didn't text or call. I just stared at that ring while the silence in the house grew louder by the hour. By nightfall, I found myself scrolling through old vacation photos. Not because I missed her, but because I needed to remind myself of what version of us had actually been real. The smiles felt posed. The laughter filtered. I began to wonder if I'd been loving a ghost. The next day, her friend's Instagram story slipped through the cracks. A boomerang at a rooftop bar. For women. One of them wearing a bodycon dress I had never seen before. One of them dancing a little too close to a man I definitely didn't know. That one was Carla. No ring. No hesitation. Just joy. My thumb hovered over the screen. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I just watched it on loop like some pathetic background character in a movie I didn't sign up for. So that night, I made my own decision. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I simply opened my laptop and made a booking. Not for a confrontation, but for something far colder. Something she would never see coming. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. I just lay in our bed. Our stupid king-size bed that suddenly felt too big, too cold, too fake. Her pillow still smelled like dry shampoo and lavender lotion, and for some reason that made it worse. I wasn't angry yet. I was numb, like I'd stepped out of my own body and was just watching this unravel from the ceiling. I kept staring at her ring, still sitting by the coffee machine like a prop in a crime scene. I wanted to move it. I wanted to hurl it across the room, but I couldn't. I just couldn't touch it. It wasn't mine to move anymore. At 2:14 a.m., I did something I had never done before in our marriage. I opened her laptop. It wasn't locked. She had no reason to hide anything. Or maybe she never imagined I'd ever be curious enough to look. I didn't go digging through emails or messages. Honestly, I didn't know what I was looking for. But something told me to check her downloads. And that's when I saw it. An open PDF file labeled with a random string of letters. I clicked. It was a hotel reservation. Not in Vermont. Not even remotely close. It was a beachfront resort in Atlantic City, booked under her name with 2 guests. The check-in date matched the day she left. I felt something inside me shift, like a dam cracking, slow but certain. It wasn't the kind of rage you see in movies. It wasn't explosive. It was quiet, surgical, precise. I got up, packed a small bag, and left the house by 3 a.m. I didn't even lock the front door. I didn't care. Let the wind take it. The drive was 5 hours. I didn't blast music. I didn't rehearse a speech. I just let the road swallow me while the GPS counted down like a clock to something irreversible. The closer I got, the more unreal it all felt. Like I was driving towards someone else's tragedy, someone else's mistake. At 8:12 a.m., I pulled into the hotel parking lot. My hands were shaking. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching guests in sunglasses and robes carry mimosas to the pool. It all looked so normal, so stupidly perfect. I texted her, "How's Vermont?" She replied instantly, "Cold but peaceful. I'll send pics later." Cold, but peaceful. I walked inside, heart pounding, and approached the front desk. I didn't know what I'd say. I just showed the clerk the email confirmation from her file and said I was checking in for my wife. He smiled, handed me a keycard and said, "She and her guest already went down to the beach, sir. You just missed them." That was the first time I laughed in 24 hours. Laughed, not because it was funny, because it was insane, because this was real, and because I finally understood. She had left her ring behind, but she brought someone else with her. So I walked up to the room she'd booked, opened the door, and what I saw inside made the numbness vanish. Instantly, the moment I stepped into the room, it hit me. The air was thick with coconut-scented body spray, and the curtains were drawn, even though it was bright and sunny outside. There were 2 wine glasses on the desk, half full, red stains creeping down the stems. One of them had lipstick, not Carla's usual shade. This one was darker, bolder. I scanned the room like I was in a daze, my eyes landing on small details that built a puzzle I didn't want to solve. There were 2 suitcases. Hers, green, the one we bought for our anniversary trip to Savannah, and a navy blue one I'd never seen before. On the bed, tossed lazily, were 2 hotel robes, and on the nightstand was a receipt for room service. Grilled salmon, a shrimp pasta, and 2 glasses of Merlot. Ordered at midnight. The same night she told me they were doing a group meditation by the fire. What snapped me out of my trance was the sound of the shower running. My throat went dry. I froze in place, unsure what to do. My first instinct was to leave, to vanish before she saw me and make her wonder for the rest of her life how I found out. But part of me couldn't move. I needed to know. I needed to see it for myself. Maybe some tiny, desperate part of me even hoped it wasn't what it looked like. The bathroom door creaked open, and out stepped a man. Tall, shirtless, towel around his waist, laughing as he spoke over his shoulder. "Did you bring that body oil, or?" His voice cut off when he saw me. For a few seconds, we just stared at each other. Him confused, dripping. Me holding the door open like I just walked into the wrong dimension. Then Carla appeared behind him, wrapped in another towel, her hair wet, her expression not shocked, but annoyed. "Melvin?" she said flatly, like I had interrupted her work call or walked into the kitchen without knocking. I couldn't speak. My tongue was glued to the roof of my mouth. My heart wasn't racing, it was crumbling. Quietly, painfully. "You're not supposed to be here," she added. That's what she said. Not "I can explain." Not "this isn't what it looks like." Just "you're not supposed to be here." The man, clearly uncomfortable now, stepped back into the bathroom and shut the door. Carla didn't even move to cover herself more. She just stood there, like she was waiting for me to say something smart, something that would wrap this all up with a bow. "I found the reservation," I finally muttered. "You didn't even bother to change the file name." She sighed, as if I was the problem now. "I didn't want to fight. That's why I lied." Those words felt like splinters. I didn't want to fight. As if avoiding conflict justified betrayal. As if my reaction to her cheating was more shameful than the cheating itself. "I gave you everything," I whispered. "I trusted you with every part of me." She crossed her arms. "And that's the thing, Melvin. You gave too much. You're always there, always available, always safe. I just needed to feel something else." My world tilted. That was her reason. Not abuse. Not neglect. Just boredom. And in that moment, something inside me went completely still. No yelling. No crying. Just silence. I turned around. Walked out. Took the elevator to the lobby. Past the same front desk clerk. And stepped into the sun. But I didn't go home. No, that would have been too easy. Too kind. I had one more thing to do. And it was going to hurt her far worse than anything she'd done to me. I didn't slam the door. I didn't make a scene. I walked out the way I came in. Quiet, unnoticed, and somehow more invisible than I'd ever felt in my life. The warm Atlantic air hit my face like a reminder that I was still breathing, even though everything inside me had just stopped. I made it to my car, slid into the driver's seat, and sat there in total silence. Not thinking, not moving, just hollow. But here's the strange part. I wasn't crying. I thought I would. I always cry. Commercials, Pixar movies, emotional pet adoption videos, you name it. But now, nothing. I just stared out the windshield at the hotel entrance, waiting for something to crack, for the pain to scream its way out. But it didn't. Instead, my phone buzzed. A text. From Carla. Please don't do anything stupid. That was it. No apology. No remorse. Not even a sliver of guilt. Just a preemptive warning, as if she still thought I was the same weak, predictable man who'd fold under her indifference. And maybe I was. But not today. I opened my notes app and started typing. Not a message. Not a response. Plan. It didn't take long to outline. I wasn't going to shout from rooftops or torch her belongings or post her betrayal online. That wasn't my style. I didn't want revenge that made noise. I wanted the kind that echoed. I checked our joint accounts. She hadn't moved anything, yet. She'd probably wait until after her little reset weekend to start the paperwork. So I moved first. I transferred every cent from our shared savings. Money I'd built over years of sacrificing vacations, skipping upgrades, working overtime, to a private account under my name. Legally. Quietly. Then I logged into our cloud storage. The one we both used for photos, documents, and everything in between. I found the backup folders, the ones that held pictures of our wedding, our anniversaries, her career milestones. All the moments I used to cherish. I downloaded them. Then I deleted the folder from the cloud. Not out of spite. Out of necessity. That chapter was done, and I didn't need reminders. Next, I wrote an email to my employer. Requested remote status. I'd never used my out-of-state allowance before, but now was the time. I had a buddy in Montana who'd been trying to get me to visit for years. He had a cabin, internet, and no questions. By the time I hit send, my phone rang. Carla. I let it buzz. Then again. And again. I watched it vibrate off the center console and onto the floor. Her face, smiling in the contact photo I hadn't updated in years, stared up at me like a ghost trying to come back through a locked door. I picked it up. Not to answer. To record a video. I set the camera up on the dash, hit record, and said everything I needed to say in 2 minutes flat. No yelling. No bitterness. Just truth. I told her what I saw, what I felt, what I was doing, and why I wasn't coming back. I told her I had loved her in ways she never even noticed, and that now I was done asking to be seen. Then I drove. Not home. Not to the cabin. Not yet. I made one stop first. Florist. I walked in, ordered a single white rose, and had it delivered with a card. No name. No return address. Just one line. The man you forgot remembered everything. I hit the highway with no destination. Just a full tank and a heart I didn't recognize anymore. I wasn't driving away from her. I was driving away from who I'd been with her. Melvin the safe bet. Melvin the reliable. Melvin the invisible. For the first time in over a decade, I wasn't tethered to anyone else's expectations. And it terrified me, but not enough to turn back. About 5 hours later, just as the sun started bleeding orange into the sky, my phone lit up again. It had been mostly silent since I'd sent the video. Just one missed call after another, no voicemails. But now, Carla had finally found her words. Her text read, "Where are you? I just got the flower. What does that even mean?" That was followed by, "You're overreacting. Let's just talk. You're being cruel, Melvin. Cruel." That word sat like a hot coal in my stomach. She thought I was cruel. The woman who smiled at another man in a hotel robe while I paid her phone bill was calling me cruel. And the worst part? I still wanted to reply. Not to argue, but to explain. To defend myself. To make her understand what she'd done to me. But I didn't. I tossed the phone into the glove compartment and kept driving until I reached a small, quiet town with one blinking stoplight and a dusty diner that looked like it hadn't changed since the 80s. It was perfect. I booked a motel for the night, paid in cash, and collapsed into the stiff mattress, unsure if I was finally escaping or just delaying the inevitable breakdown. Came the next morning. I woke up to 14 missed calls and a long, unpunctuated text that began with, "I'm sorry," and devolved into blame within 3 sentences. Carla had never been good at apologies. She saw them as losses, not bridges. She wrote that I was abandoning her, that I had no right to disappear, that I was being selfish after everything we'd built together. She mentioned money. That was when it clicked. She wasn't panicking because I was gone. She was panicking because I had taken back what she always assumed would be hers. For 9 years, she managed everything with calm superiority. She made the decisions, controlled the calendar, filtered our social circle. And I let her, because I thought love meant compromise. But now that I wasn't under her thumb, she had no idea how to react. It wasn't heartbreak I was reading. It was the fear of losing control. She followed up with another message. If you don't come back, I'll tell people you abandoned me. That made me laugh. Out loud. In a cheap motel robe with bad coffee in my hand, I laughed like someone who'd finally found the absurdity in the tragedy. Let her talk. Let her twist the truth. Because I wasn't running, I was reclaiming. That day, I drove to a UPS store and mailed her a package. Inside was her ring, wrapped neatly. No note, no explanation. Let her make up her own story. She always had anyway. And that night I finally slept. Not well, not deeply, but for the first time in years, I wasn't sharing a bed with betrayal. And that was something. By the time Carla's version of the truth reached our friends and her family, I had already vanished from our shared life like a ghost who stopped waiting to be noticed. Her narrative was painfully predictable. That I had a breakdown, ran off without warning, left her heartbroken and confused. She played the wounded wife so well, I almost wanted to applaud. Her tears came easily when someone else was watching. That much had always been true. What she didn't know was that I still had access to our group chats, our family threads, our shared friend circles, even our old couples game night messages. I watched in real time as she laid the groundwork. He hasn't been himself for months. He needs space, I think. No, I don't know where he went. He won't even answer my calls. She was careful, crafting her sympathy campaign like a PR expert cleaning up a minor scandal. I didn't reply to any of them, not even when her sister, Lisa, texted me privately. She's spiraling. Just tell me you're okay. I almost replied. Lisa had always been different, kinder, quieter. She once told me during a Thanksgiving cleanup that she thought Carla didn't deserve someone like me. I remembered that moment more than I probably should have. But I left her message unread. Because the moment I started defending myself, I'd be pulled back into Carla's orbit. And I wasn't orbiting anymore. Instead, I moved again, west. A friend in Flagstaff had a cabin, empty, isolated, and offered without questions. I paid 3 months in advance. Told my boss I'd need time offline. He understood. Apparently, looking like your whole life just collapsed on a Zoom call is hard to hide. In that quiet place, with red clay trails and a sky full of stars that didn't pity me, I started building something Carla would never touch again. Distance. And then, like clockwork, she showed up in the one place she shouldn't have. My email. The subject line read, "Closure." Inside was a long, winding mess of a message that tried to be everything at once. Apology, justification, flattery, manipulation. She said she missed me, that she regretted how she handled things, that she never meant to hurt me, but buried beneath every carefully selected word was the same Carla I'd left behind. Still trying to get a reaction. Still trying to control the ending. She ended it with, "Can we talk? Just one last time?" I stared at the blinking cursor, and then I typed just one sentence. "You already told the world your story. Why ruin it with the truth?" I didn't hit send. Not yet. Instead, I saved it in drafts and went for a walk. The desert was quiet, warm, honest. Unlike her. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled without bitterness. Because the version of me she was describing to everyone no longer existed. And the man I was becoming, he didn't need to prove anything to anyone. Not even her. 3 weeks passed without another word. Not from Carla. Not from anyone in her carefully constructed audience. I thought maybe she had finally accepted the silence, the absence, the weight of not being able to steer the story anymore. I underestimated her. Again. It started with a voicemail. I never listened to them, but this one was different. Her voice was raw, not composed. She wasn't crying. She was angry. "Melvin," she snapped. "You really think people won't figure it out? You think you can just disappear and that no one will ask why? They're starting to ask. I'm sick of covering for you." Click. No goodbye. No pause. Just pressure. That was the first crack in her armor. I could feel it. The control she clung to was slipping, and she knew it. What she didn't know was that I'd quietly made sure the truth had a place to live if she pushed me too far. Remember that video I recorded in the car? I had saved it, not just for her but for me. It was proof. Evidence. Not of what she did physically, but of how she made me feel invisible, disposable, forgotten. It wasn't a revenge tool. It was a safeguard. And when I noticed she had started reaching out to mutual friends again, asking if they had heard from me, I knew what was coming next. She wanted sympathy. Again. But now the cracks were showing. I got a message from Dylan, a guy we'd both known since college, someone who never took sides. His message was short. "Hey man, Carla said you left her out of nowhere. Is that what really happened?" I didn't lie. I didn't vent. I simply wrote, "Ask her why she left her ring on the counter." He didn't respond right away. But 2 days later, I got another message from someone else. Then another. And slowly, I realized her version wasn't holding anymore. People were starting to remember things, like how she stopped mentioning me in conversations months before the trip, like how she told a few people that she felt trapped, or the most damning of all, how Marissa's Instagram story from that weekend suddenly disappeared, right after someone noticed a man in the background who wasn't anyone's husband. She was scrambling, rewriting, deleting. I hadn't posted a single thing, hadn't said a word publicly, but the truth was unfolding all on its own. I wasn't the one revealing anything. Her own carelessness was doing the work. That night, I logged back into our old joint email, the one we used for bills, travel plans, and wedding RSVPs back in the day. I hadn't checked it in weeks. I almost forgot it existed. But there it was, a single unread message from someone I didn't know. Subject: "You don't know me, but I think you should see this." I opened it, expecting spam. Instead, I found 3 screenshots. One of Carla, holding a wine glass, sitting on a stranger's lap. One of her texting something vile about me, laughing about how he still thinks I'm in Vermont. And one last one, of her bragging in a private group chat that he's too soft to ever leave for good. That's what she thought of me. Not weak, not confused, soft. And in that moment, I knew what I had to do next. Not out of vengeance, not out of spite, but to close the door fully on her story, on mine, on all of it. I didn't respond to the email. I didn't need to. I let those screenshots exist where they were, in someone else's inbox, out in the open, undeniable. Her secrets were no longer mine to protect. And I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. In a world obsessed with explosive endings, I chose the quiet kind. The kind where healing doesn't come with fireworks but with deep breaths, long walks, and mornings where you open your eyes without dread. I spent the next few weeks rebuilding a version of my life that didn't revolve around being enough for someone who never appreciated what I already was. I started small, journaling, cooking for one, hiking without headphones. I adopted a dog from a local shelter. His name is Crosby. He doesn't care about Carla. He doesn't care that I once begged someone to love me better. He only cares that I show up. And I do. Every day. Eventually, I got a message from Lisa, Carla's sister. She said, "I'm sorry. I think I always knew something wasn't right. You didn't deserve that." I thanked her. Nothing more. She asked where I was. I told her I wasn't sure. But that, for once, not knowing felt like a gift. One night, I finally deleted the video I had saved, the one I made in my car after seeing Carla at the hotel. I didn't need it anymore. The man who recorded it no longer existed. And the woman it was meant for, well, she was now just someone I used to trust. Carla hasn't contacted me again. I don't expect her to. Maybe she realized the truth was louder than her fiction. Or maybe she just moved on to a new audience. Either way, I'm not looking back. Today, I wake up without anxiety. I don't check my phone waiting for an apology. I don't walk on eggshells or over-explain who I am. I'm just me. Flawed, sensitive, quiet, but not soft. Not anymore. I learned that walking away isn't weakness. It's clarity. It's courage. It's finally listening to the voice that says, you deserve peace, too. And for anyone out there who sees pieces of themselves in my story, just know you're not alone. You're not crazy. And you are absolutely not too soft. You're just human. Thanks for watching this story unfold on Reddit Confessions. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below and tell us, what part of this story hit you the hardest? Was it the ring? The hotel? The silence? We want to hear your thoughts. And if you've ever walked away from someone who didn't see your worth, know that here your story matters.